welcome back to Well, That's Interesting. The Look at All the Crap They Uncovered, what a surprise edition. Today is episode 260. Multi-generational vulture nests hold nearly 700 years of human artifacts, and the world's oldest forests have been found. My friends, gift-giving season is very much upon us and bearing down with all the weight of the limp-beaten body of the last stage of capitalism. What I mean to say is that I reckon there is a high probability you are currently wrapped up in a sparkly bow of anxiety. Well, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Gifts come in many forms, and sometimes they can be found in the most unlikely of places. In the first half of the show, it'll be my honor to introduce you to the most extreme, badass metal bird yet to be featured here. The bearded vulture is a no-fucking-nonsense, non-traditionalist, anti-conformist whose unblinking stare can dig a hole through your skull, after which they feast upon your bones. And they are also exceptional homemakers. I'm not exaggerating about any of this. They live on the literal edge of the Earth's surface, calling any and all tall mountains across Europe and Africa home, including the Pyrenees of France and Spain, the 750-mile stretch of the Alps, the cliffs of the Arabian Peninsula and the Caucasus, and the Zagros Mountains of Iran, northern Iraq, and southeast Turkey. In Africa, you can find them in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, in the Ethiopian highlands, and south from Sudan to the northeastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, to central Kenya and northern Tanzania. So, what the fuck are they doing in these cold, dry, arid regions? Two things. Swallowing the bones of mountain herbivores like sheep, ibex, and deer for their stomachs to dissolve, exposing the sweet, sweet marrow inside, and creating fabulous homes. The acidity of the bearded vulture's stomach is estimated to be around a pH of 1, which is as acidic as you can get. And when your diet is 85 to 90% bones, I'll say that again, 85 to 90% bones, that really comes in handy. According to a 1994 study aptly called Bone Digestion and Intestinal Morphology of the Bearded Vulture, even the largest of bones are digested in about 24 hours. And while that's happening, the vulture doesn't have to worry about the rest of the carcass spoiling, as the environment of these mountains is basically a natural refrigerator. In fact, 24 hours is nothing. As noted in the study, quote, the bearded vulture can return to consume the remainder of a carcass even months after the soft parts have been consumed by other animals, larvae, and bacteria. A skeleton left on a mountain will dehydrate and become protected from bacterial degradation. End quote. Lovely. And when it comes to building nests, these birds are just as serious. On average, they're 3 feet across and at least 2 feet deep. So let's just say when your wingspan is 7 to 9 feet across, you need that kind of room for yourself, a partner, and 1 to 2 chicks who are there full-time for about 100 to 130 days. But to be honest, they never truly leave. Bearded vulture nests can be used for centuries by multiple generations of birds, adding to, repairing, and recycling whatever they deem worthy of a home that's built to last. This unique characteristic piqued the interest of Sergio Couto of the University of Granada's Cultural Archaeology Laboratory. And you might be asking, why the fuck would an archaeologist care so much about nests? Well, as reported by 4vultures.org, 200 years ago, bearded vultures were found in all southern European mountain areas, from western Spain to the Balkans. But as humans encroached, hunting those same sheep, ibex, and deer, things got truly bad for the bird. And as humans settled into these areas, things went from bad to worse. Quote, people thought that the bird killed lambs and sometimes even small children. So bearded vultures were hunted down fanatically. In the Alpine region, there was even a bounty for each animal killed. The last living specimen in the area was shot in 1913. Currently, bearded vultures are the rarest vulture in Europe, only occurring in the Pyrenees with around 100 breeding pairs, Corsica with 8 pairs, Crete with 9 to 10 breeding pairs, and a reintroduced population in the Alps with 60-plus breeding pairs. The total population in Europe, including Turkey and Russia, is estimated to be about 600 to 1,000 pairs. End quote. So, long bloody story short. Unfortunately, the bearded vulture no longer calls the mountains and cliffs of southern Spain home. They are extinct from this region. But their nests, fashioned together with whatever the birds plucked from the area during their time here, these are still around. We just need to find them and see what's inside. We will join Sergio in his quest to find these long-lost nests. We will dig through the thousands of embedded artifacts. What was found surprised even the most seasoned bird lovers and archaeologists alike. Then after the break, we are leaving the expanse of Europe's mountains for upstate New York. In a town you probably never heard of, deep in a quarry no longer functioning, Dr. Christopher Berry, a paleobiologist at Cardiff University, and his team made a wild discovery: the fossilized roots of a forest. Months later, across the pond, along the highest cliffs in England, researchers including Professor Neil Davies stumbled upon something similar: the remains of extremely bizarre-looking plants. We will join both teams to figure out what in the holy hell they were doing in these places to begin with. We will learn what species of plants they uncovered, and most importantly, their age. For you see, understanding what kinds of plants were around at particular times actually helps explain the transformation of the entire atmosphere itself and the rise of certain creatures. I'm talking really big ones, with a lot of legs and wings. Oh God, we will get into it. In the meantime, hi, I'm Jill Chacha, and if this is your first time listening, welcome to the flock, my newly wrapped business goose. To begin, I'm going to need you to drop whatever bullshit bird you're holding right now and to pick up your phone. Head on over to today's post on the old socials and swipe past the handy-dandy graphic illustrating the wide range of stomach acidity. You're welcome. What you're going to see is a photo of two gentlemen, maybe in their 60s, wearing winter coats, and each is holding the most awkward-looking teenager. I'll give you a sec to take it all in. Now, for the folks whose own hands are oh so full at the moment, and they can't join us in this splendor, don't worry, I've got you. Of course, the teens they're holding are adolescent bearded vultures. And boy howdy, there is a lot going on here. One, the birds are fucking huge. The two men need both of their arms to hold these birds against their chest, which is completely covered by bird. Two, the birds and these gentlemen are having the goddamn time of their lives, just beaming ear to ear. And three, these vultures are a hot mess. Despite being the length of a grown-ass man's torso, they still have brown, downy baby feathers on their bellies. And their heads, which, unlike most vultures who remain bald, are sprouting weird tiny feathers that will grow into magnificent crowns. Put a pin in that. Now, why these guys may be smiling is because, well, they're holding two new editions of the rarest and most endangered vulture in Europe. Things are looking up. As reported by 4vultures.org, efforts to reintroduce the bearded vulture began in the late 1970s with the Alpine Reintroduction Project. In the space of just 40 years, the population of bearded vultures in the Alps has firmly been reestablished, making it one of the world's most successful wildlife comeback stories. Following the success of this project, efforts began in Spain to bring the bearded vulture back with the Andalusia Reintroduction Projects in 1996, which I'm sure I said perfectly, followed by the Valencia Reintroduction Project in 2018. End quote. In sum, as of 2025, there are a whopping 309 known breeding pairs in Europe. Getting it on under the watchful eye of nonprofits like the Vulture Conservation... Getting it on under the watchful eye of nonprofits like the Vulture Conservation Foundation and BirdLife International. Now, in a few years, when these two adolescents reach 4 years old, they will undergo a final molting where their head, neck, chest, and most of their body will become increasingly white. If you're joining us on the old socials, swipe past this photo of the old dudes and you'll see an adult bearded vulture gobbling down the leg bone of a kill left behind from an apex predator. This is what they do. They clean up after big cats and other big-ass birds of prey. Now, if you can get past the idea of swallowing an entire bone whole, you'll see that this looks like a completely different bird. It almost resembles a hawk. That belly has white feathers tinted bronze, and it has black wings. At the edge of its chin, there are tufts of black feathers, giving the bird its name. Other than shotgunning bones, the bearded vulture actually has a few, let's just say, unusual behaviors. One, they like to bathe in bodies of water containing iron oxide, which dyes their white feathers shades of brown. According to 4 vultures, the reason behind this behavior is still a bit of a mystery. Some speculate that it's just decorative, while others claim that iron oxide protects eggs from infection. But these are not confirmed, end quote. Now, signs do lean towards the decorative, actually, and maybe not mandatory for survival. The site goes on to say white-bearded vultures are relatively common in some mountain ranges, such as the High Atlas Mountains in Morocco, possibly because they can't find iron soil. Further on this, captive birds are white in color, unless human keepers provide iron-rich puddles they can flop around in to get their orange-red color. Personally, I am not surprised. A flamboyant bird like this likes to play dress-up. I mean, look at that face! They're given twice divorced and no fucks. Anyway, let's get back to another unusual behavior of the bearded vulture. They pass down their nests to the next generation. Only a handful of birds can do this, like crows, hawks, ospreys, and eagles, but the benefits are many. According to Ye Olde Audubon, building nests is energetically expensive, and it's time-consuming, especially for large birds that travel over long distances. In sum, no one's got time for that. So reusing an existing structure reduces the effort. There's also the familiarity with the land, and having the same nest means there's no need to seek out new territory, which can be deadly for offspring. The last benefit, though, is very much in our favor. Sergio Couto of the University of Granada's Cultural Archaeology Laboratory teamed up with the Wildlife Ecology and Management Research Group of the Institute for Research in Game Resources, asking a question that only nerd archaeologists would ponder. What can be found inside a bearded vulture's nest that's been used and reused for centuries? Now, although the question is a simple one, it's a bit misleading. It would imply there are plenty of bearded vulture nests to peek into, but Sergio and the gang are located in the very south of Spain, along the coast, where the Sierra Nevada mountains had not been home to a vulture in the past 130 years. My friends, they are extinct here. So how do you even go about finding these nests? Well, if you said, you're gonna have to elevate your nerdiness to the next level, mi amor, you are right. As reported by the team's September press release at canal.ugr.es, quote, Couto delved into the books of naturalists who visited the mountains of Andalusia in the 18th and 19th centuries, leaving behind detailed stories which they illustrated with black and white photographs. He consulted the elderly in the area, people in their 70s and 80s who remembered because they had lived with the species or because a shepherd had told them something. He also spoke with naturalists currently working on rock-dwelling species. He began to piece together the puzzle, which led him and the team to undertake years of research that continues to this day. End quote. Oh, my soaring business goose. From 2008 to 2014, Sergio and the gang located not one, not two, not 15 or 35 or 40 nests, but goddamn 50 nests. That, if you take a gander at a few of them on the old socials, you'll see that the team had their work cut out for them. One, remember when I said the average nest is about 3 feet across? Not these. The Spanish bearded vultures really fucking lived it up. These are massive. They are literally the size of caves in the mountains. And two, like those teens from before, these nests are a hot mess. Each looks like an episode of Hoarders. To non-archaeologists, this would be daunting. But the team, they were so excited. The plan was to approach these long-abandoned homes using archaeological stratigraphic methods. meaning they were going to peel back layer after layer, essentially going backwards in time. So, after hitching up their pants and slapping on some gloves to dig through the 12 of these 50 nests, what did the team find? Drumroll, please. Thank you in the back. They found a lot. Like a lot. According to their study, with the long-ass title of The Bearded Vulture as an Accumulator of Historical Remains, Insights for Future Ecological and Biocultural Studies, in 12 nests alone, there were 2,483 objects. Let's get into them, shall we? 2,117 were uneaten bones, including 86 hooves. Adorably, 43 eggshell fragments were also found, bearing evidence of hatchlings who most likely took over these nests as adults. That means up to 43 generations could have lived here, y'all. And if that sounds like a long time to you, once again, you are correct. The team has 226 anthropogenic remains to prove it. And that, by the way, is basically just a fancy way of saying human stuff was in the nest. And it went way the fuck back. Please drop whatever old crap you're holding right now and pick up your phone. Tap on today's post and you will see a collage of 6 of the most dramatic pieces found. Now, if you're too busy waist deep in some pile yourself and you can't join us, don't worry, I've got you. What we're looking at are objects labeled A through F, and please be sure to sit down as I explain what they are and just how old some are as well. A is actually rope from a slingshot, which I assume was taken by a bird who was tired of someone's shit. B is a crossbow bolt and its wooden lance. C is a child's agobia, which is a tiny, tiny shoe, y'all, made of several species of wound grass and twigs. And when the team did some clickety-clack C14 calculations, the agobia dated back approximately 674 years. To put that into perspective, that's 1351 AD. That is impressive. And the hits just keep coming. D is a fragment of a basket from 151 years ago. E is a piece of sheep leather dated to 651 years ago. And if you give it a proper squint, you'll see decorative red lines. And finally, F. F is just a crumpled piece of fabric. No date was given, but it's gray, dirty, and looks to have seen some shit, so I'm gonna say it's old too. So, this is all gleefully surprising, that vulture nests are composed of historical artifacts. But I can see your face from here. I think you may be thinking, wow, yeah, this is really weird and fun. It's fun treasure hunt. But how does this help us? That's a great question. Well, let's start with the bones. As so wonderfully summed up by the editors of ScienceNewsToday.org, these literally paint a picture of the bird's diet across centuries and offer clues about the ecosystem in which they lived. Quote, "The bones included remains of both wild and domestic animals, suggesting that the bearded vultures fed on carcasses left behind by pastoralists as well as wild prey. By examining these materials, scientists could trace changes in the local biodiversity, shifts in livestock management, and even environmental changes over time. The nests, in other words, were not only historical records of human artifacts, but also biological archives of ecosystems long gone." End quote. Well, holy shit. How about that? These nests tell stories, not only about the day-to-day life of ordinary folks hundreds of years ago, but of the environment itself. Think of each layer as a dirty-ass page, filled with an enormous amount of information. So, file bearded vulture nests as a practical tool in archaeology. Who knew? After the break, we may be leaving the elevation of Europe's mountains, but we're sticking with cliffs and stuff stuck inside other stuff. More happy surprises await, and they're millions upon millions of years old. Stay tuned.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, I'm going to need you to bring a pick, a shovel, your sexiest pair of gardening gloves, and to scooch on next to me in the old time machine. We're heading on back to the year practically no one remembers, 2019, and to a town you may have never heard of, Cairo. Not Cairo, Egypt, but Cairo, New York. And for my fellow geographically challenged Americans who are instantly ready to scale some pyramids, first of all, you can't do that. Don't be that guy. And now you're all like, wait then. Where the fuck? Where is this? Don't worry. I've got you. Please, everyone, point to the west coast of Manhattan. Thank you. You just touched the Hudson River, but don't freak out. It's actually really clean nowadays. What we're going to do is follow that river north, about 120 miles, to a small town, one of about 7,000 people, who are all screaming at me right at this very minute because they pronounce the town's name as Cairo. That is unexpected. And you know what else is relatively shocking? Here is where one of two of the world's oldest forests can be found. Thanks to the exposed layers of a now retired sandstone quarry, the echo of tendrils can be seen weaving through the rock. To bystanders, it was clear something had been worming its way through this land, leaving behind a path. Now this sounds horrendous, but again, don't worry. If you drop whatever horrendous thing you're holding right now and pick up your phone to check out today's post on the old socials, you'll see what they saw. Whatever made this imprint did so eons ago. These paths look fossilized, and their shape, well, if you've ever seen the exposed root system of a tree, this looks just like that. About 40 kilometers or 25 miles away from here, and only 3 years ago in 2016, the residents of Gilboa saw the same damn thing. And after many a clickety-clack calculations were made, they were just as shocked. Yes, their tendrils once belonged to the roots of the first trees, some 380 million years ago. So, could these markings here in Cairo be a forest of its own? Who better to ask than the dude who helped make the Gilboa discovery, Dr. Christopher Berry, a paleobotanist at Cardiff University. After hearing about this quarry, he hitched up his pants and he said, "Yeah, sure, I'll take a look." Well, hold on to your own pants, my friends, because we're about to go on a whirlwind tour of some old-ass trees and how they impacted our planet. Dr. B joined forces with fellow Hot for Plants nerds from Binghamton University, the New York State Museum, and additional colleagues from Cardiff University to give these sandstone mysteries a poke. After mapping out 3,000 square meters, or just about 32,300 square feet, they discovered the fossilized woody roots of dozens of ancient trees, with evidence suggesting that these roots didn't suddenly stop there. At some point, it's estimated an extensive network of trees may have once spread from here to 250 miles south to Pennsylvania. The question is, when did this happen and who the fuck were they? Drumroll, please. Thank you in the back. According to Cardiff University's December 2019 press release, their investigation showed that the forest was home to at least 2 types of trees, and girl, they looked nothing like the trees we know of today. Well, above ground, for one of them, anyway. Cladoxylopsids were primitive trees who I can only describe as dandelions that are about to seed. You know those white poofs that blow apart in the wind? Well, imagine that. But instead of the floof being white, picture a green clump made of ferns, with the stalk being a hollow wooden trunk. Depending on the species of Cladoxylopsid, they grew from 12 inches to 3 meters or 10 feet in height. Alongside these funky dandelions was Archaeopteris, nailed it, and they were a smidge familiar in appearance, but not by much. Growing to a height of 20 to 40 meters or 60 to 130 feet, their trunks expanded to 5 feet in diameter. though they too were hollow. From this chunk, you'd find a handful of branches, along which flattened green ferns sprouted. By their outward appearances, these two would look and feel alien to us today. In fact, if we searched for seeds, we wouldn't find any. They hadn't evolved yet. These plants were still reproducing with spores, which explains all the ferns. But, and big but here, if we peeped at the hidden root system of Archaeopteris, we would be like, oh yeah, these babies are trees. I totally recognize this. My evolved business goose. Archaeopteris' fossilized root systems at Cairo were not only massive, about 36 feet in length on average, but each tree's larger roots were accompanied by, quote, multiple levels of branching and small, short-lived perpendicular feeder roots, end quote, from the press release. This radical design wasn't just for flair. By literally branching out, trees like Archaeopteris with feeder roots were able to anchor themselves firmly into the soil and absorb more water and nutrients from a wider soil volume than simpler designs, like those belonging to its neighbor, clad oxylopsid. Say that 3 times fast. Underneath clad oxylopsid, there flowed several ribbon-like roots. But they stopped there. They didn't branch off. The implications of something as simple as a branched root were revolutionary. But not only for the trees themselves. Please put a hefty fucking pin in this. We will get into the consequences of this new root system shortly. In the meantime, after Dr. B and the gang did some swabbing and some sampling for the old carbon-14 dating process, I can only assume their hot-for-plants bodies got the shivers. Little Cairo just became home to the world's oldest forest at 386 million years, around 2 to 3 million years older than what was found in Gilboa. So suck it, Gilboa. Well, the victory lap and the gloating souvenir shops only lasted for so long because Dr. B was on an insatiable roll. His quest for the oldest known trees took him even to the most dangerous parts of our planet, including the cautiously named Hangman Sandstone Formation of Somerset and Devon. Now, where the hell is this? Don't worry, I've got you. Everyone please imagine. England. Thank you. Point to the very lower left-hand corner, and there you'll find a piece of land jutting out like the finger of a scolding British nanny. In the middle of the North Shore, overlooking the Bristol Channel, you'll find the Hangman Cliffs, consisting of the Great Hangman and Little Hangman. Big Hangman is 1,043 feet high with a cliff face of 800 feet, making it the highest sea cliff in England. For perspective, the Eiffel Tower stands at 1,060 feet tall. Little Hangman is a close second at 716 feet high, and together, they make one hell of a legend. According to the 1895 book, The Coasts of Devon and Lundy Island, a sheep thief was walking over one of these hills carrying a stolen ewe over his shoulder. As he stopped to rest, the struggling sheep caused the cord tied around its legs to tighten and slip around the man's neck, strangling him. Despite this flamboyant way to die, the area draws fossil hunters from around the world. During the Devonian period, between 419 to 358 million years ago, this wagging finger was originally attached to parts of Germany and Belgium. So, just like those bearded vulture nests, its layers also tell a tale and complete the biography of our Earth. In 2024, Professor Neil Davies of Cambridge's Department of Earth Sciences, he was scaling these same cliffs when he and his team saw what looked to be twigs embedded in the sandstone. Knowing the age of this place and the possibility of these being fossilized branches of the first trees, they know who to call. Dr. B. Quote, "When I first saw pictures of the tree trunks, I immediately knew what they were, based on 30 years of studying this type of tree worldwide." End quote, he said with conviction in an interview with cam.au.uk. My friends, with the assistance of Dr. Berry, Professor Neil and the gang uncovered a species of clad oxylopsid called Calamophyton, a type of palm tree-looking plant that stood 2 to 4 meters or 6.5 to 13 feet high. Giving these the old swabberoo, test results revealed that the forest here dated back to 393 million years ago, officially yoinking Caro's title of the oldest fossilized forest in the world so far. Now, at this point, you may be saying, yeah, Jill, that's really fucking old, but again, why is this important? Shouldn't we be getting to that part already? I mean, look at the time. Well, yes, thank you. Great question. Let's. If you're a long-time member of the flock, then you may recall episode 169, Creature and its Exoskeleton Found in Lady's Ear Hole, and Millipede the Size of a Car. Yes, it was our New Year's Eve extravaganza back on the last day of 2023, and not only did we spy into the ear canal of an elderly lady in China to see an adorably lost spider, we also learned that there are 7,000 species of millipede in the world as we speak, and they've been around for at least 300 million years. If you do the math, that means at least one species was alive during the time these tree roots became branched. That species was a beast called Arthropleura, who grew to 8.5 feet in length and about 1.5 feet wide. Now, I can see the look on your face. It says, Jill, you did not need to remind me of that. Or it says, Jill, you did not need to tell me that at all, but you did. So at least tell me how the fuck they could possibly reach that size. Well, I shall. Not only did this new root system benefit trees, but it completely transformed the atmosphere. This unit of a creature existed during an era called the Carboniferous period, about 359 to 299 million years ago. As the name suggests, enormous amounts of carbon were removed from the air thanks to a process called weathering. As roots reached record lengths, they penetrated and broke up rocks below the soil. This triggered chemical reactions that pulled CO2 from the atmosphere and turned it into carbonate ions in groundwater. This water ran off into the sea, eventually to be locked away in limestone. These new forests also produced, you guessed it, an increase in the amount of oxygen as well, and I don't mean a smidge. While the planet's atmosphere today contains around 21% oxygen, the atmosphere at the time had levels of over 26%, with sporadic periods greater than 30%. According to the Natural History Museum website nhm.au.uk, it's suggested that, quote, this higher level of oxygen allowed for insects to grow much larger. Insects breathe using trachea, tubes which deliver oxygen directly to the tissues of the body, whereas many other animal species use blood to deliver the gas. With this system, oxygen moves relatively slowly into the bodies of insects. This means that tissues at the center of larger arthropods wouldn't receive enough oxygen to survive under current conditions, but if there was more oxygen in the atmosphere during the Carboniferous, then these animals may have been able to grow larger. End quote. Yeah, yes, my much smaller business goose, insects during the Carboniferous period mainlined the overabundance of oxygen, transforming them into hulking hulks. And again, I am not exaggerating. Along with Arthropleura, there was Meganeura, a dragonfly-like insect with a wingspan of up to 28 inches. There was Pulmonoscorpius, a giant fucking scorpion that could grow up to 28 inches long. Even the goddamn mayflies had a wingspan of 18 inches. The only thing that could stop this raging party was the party itself. Eventually, atmospheric carbon dioxide levels crashed to an all-time global low, leading to a period of climate change that included significant cooling and drying, making it difficult for the tropical rainforests where these species boogied down to survive. This led to extinctions and reductions in sizes of many a creature, except for the cockroach. Yeah, these fuckers were 4 inches back then, and if you've been to New York lately, you've met a few of these today. Thank you for listening, rating, subscribing, following, telling your friends. Start with the cockroach thing, and then say just wait, just wait for it. It's about the world's oldest forest. They won't see it coming. Then tell them about the vulture nests and what they're full of. Just a bunch of shit, and just name it off. And a creepy, crawly thanks to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you love the other podcasts in this family, and please, stay interesting.